Hi guys, it's Mrs. Alberts here, and let's look at 2023's Grade 12 Afrikaans First Additional Language Poetry. Poem number 2, Ken jy die see, deur ijskriege. Now I hope all of you have been to the ocean before, to the beach. I hope that you have seen it at its best, but I also hope that you have seen it at its worst in stormy weather, so that you have a little bit more of an idea of what this poem is going to be about. Firstly, it is going to be a monologue. Monologue's other word is alleenspraak in Afrikaans, and this is a one-sided conversation. We've got the fisherman as the speaker in this poem, and he is talking about how they are reliant on fishing for an income. And we start with our title as always, Ken jy die see? Do you know the ocean? It is a question, but there is no question mark. There's only an ellipse. It is because the title wants you to think about that question. So it's a pause for you to think, to make that question really sink in. Do you know the ocean? It is also focusing your attention on that question. So we start with our poem, Ken jy die see, meneer? Ken jy die see? Hy lyk nou soos jou voorste blink geskuur en kalm, soos min dinge hier benee, maar hy's gevaarliker as vlam of vuur. Do you know the sea, mister? Do you know the sea? He that looks now like your front porch, flat and shiny, and calm like little is beneath, but he is more dangerous than flame or fire. So we've got the rhetorical question in line 1. Rhetorical because the man is not waiting for the person he is speaking to answer him. And the question is there to ask, does this person know the hardships that they, the fishermen, have to endure to bring the fish to the fish market? He also wants to emphasize, do you know how unpredictable the ocean can be? That meneer is emphasized with your commas. He is speaking to the sir, so he's calling him sir. And again, you'll see a lot of repetition, like line 1's question. We've got it here, the repetition from the title to line 1. We've got personal pronouns because he is speaking directly to a person who might be a potential fish buyer. He could also be speaking to you, the reader. We've got personification in line 2. Who is this he that he is talking about now? This is the ocean. He says, he looks as flat as your front porch. So that is the ocean being personified. You'll find that that there's going to be a lot of personification right through this poem, and moreover it's going to be about the ocean being personified as a person. We've got enjambment from line 2 to 3, and we've got a simile in line 2. Hy lyk nou soos jou voorstoep, that's soos. He looks like your front porch, flat and shiny. So we've got the sun shining on your flat ocean, and it is calm like little is beneath, soos min dinge. So again, another simile saying that at this stage it is calmer than anything that is under the sea. So what does he mean with that? Well, under the sea it's not really calm. You've got lots of fishes, you've got lots of sharks and animal life and marine life happening, so it is calmer than anything underneath. So we only see the calm section of this ocean. But then line 4 gives you, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about beneer. Beneer is a shortened version of benede, which means beneath, and they've done that for forcing rhyme. So now the word beneer can rhyme with seer in line 1. Then we've got in line 4 the word maar, which we now know is a contrasting conjunction. It shows us that even though the ocean is as calm as nothing is beneath the ocean, it means that things are about to change, or there is a contrast. In this case, the contrast is huis. Again, we've got the personification there with hy, but it's also elisi because they've omitted the word is. We have the fact that there's alliteration and gevaarliker as vlam of vuur, and that alliteration, that V alliteration, emphasizes the danger, and the danger here like flame or fire. So the ocean is way more dangerous than it looks currently. How does it look currently? Calm, flat. But, and as we spoke about in the beginning, that unpredictability of the ocean, it is actually way more dangerous than flame or fire. Dan sê jy nog, meneer, die visse stuur. Die vrede, kalmer as 'n stil soet kind, lyk of dit daar lank sal duur. Maar word die bries 'n bulderende wind, dan veg jy vir jou lewe uur na uur. Then you say, sir, the fish is expensive. This peace, calmer than a silent, sweet child, looks like it can last for days and days. But if this breeze becomes a bouldering or a roaring wind, then you have to fight for your life hour after hour. We are going to look at your alleenplasing lines a bit more at the end of this poem. You are going to see that every fifth line, so line 5, 10, 15, 20, etc., are all going to be variations of the same sentence. Then you say, sir, the fish is expensive. So this statement that this person made has started this monologue. So we have a situation where a person comes, he's a prospective fish buyer, he comes to the fisherman, he wants to buy a fish, he asks him, how much is that snook? The fisherman answers him, and he is not happy with the price, and he makes the statement that the fish is expensive. This is a slap in the fisherman's face, because this shows the fisherman that this potential buyer does not understand the hardships of the ocean, the things that the fishermen need to endure in order to bring the fish to the table. So then he continues to explain in line 6. He says, die vrede. Now remember, when there's a little squiggy thingy on the E, it means that it's accent. You have to emphasize the word. So you don't say die vrede, you say die vrede. So this calm that you see here, this peace you see here, and then it goes into a simile. Calmer than a silent, sweet child. So it is innocent, it looks innocent, it looks calm. You've got the S sounds there being alliterated, almost like it is an onomatopoeia. You've got the sound of the ocean, that shh, ocean, very calm sounds. He's saying that this piece that is now calmer than a silent, sweet child, that looks like it can last for days and days. Now look at the repetition of days and days, and the alliteration of the D sounds. There's going to be quite a lot of explosive sounds as well in this poem, because when you think about the ocean's waves crashing against the beach, they are quite loud. Okay, so we've got that D sounds coming through here. He says it looks like this calm can last for days and days. But, and again we've got this contrasting conjunction, how this calm can be misjudged. It is unpredictable. It's not always going to be this calm. He says, but if this calm, this breeze, and again you'll see there's another accent in front of breeze. Breeze is this calm breeze, can change into a roaring wind. So now here we've got contrast, breeze, roaring wind. We've got personification, because roaring is something that only a person or an animal can do, not the ocean. So this breeze changes to a roaring wind. We also have progression here. We've got dan, which is again vending, then. So things are changing here. Then the calm sea will change unexpectedly into a life-threatening thing, where there would be a long-standing fight between fishermen and the sea. Then you fight for your life hour after hour. Look at your alliteration again with your B sounds. So here we talk about the progression. So from line 6, this piece Okay, we change then later into a roaring wind where you need to fight for your life hour after hour. So we've got calm and we've got fight for your life. We've got days and days standing in contrast with hour to hour. So you can see the progression of a calm ocean turning into a stormy one. En jy sê nog meneer, die vis is duur. Ja, sleep die swart wind die swart nag mee. Waar kry ons hulp dan? Waar's ons naaste buur? Die dood staan voor die deur. Gee hy nog net een tree, dan kelder hy ons almal in sy koue skuur. And you still say, sir, the fish is expensive. Yes, if the black wind takes the black night with, where will we get our help? Where's our closest neighbor? Death is standing at the door. If he gives one more step, he will bury us all in his cold shed. We start with jy in line 10 being in cursive. It shows you emphasis. He is emphasizing the person he is speaking to, almost singling that person out. He says, and you, sir, still say the fish is expensive. We've got repetition in line 11, the black wind and the black night. It has an ominous feel to it, a negative connotation. It refers to the darkness that a storm is brewing. The black wind is bringing a black night with, so it is a dark storm approaching. We've got the S alliteration emphasizing that, and we look at the swart wind being a reference to a suidooster, which is the southeaster wind that blows in Cape Town. We all know that they call Cape Town the Cape of Storms, so that is a real ominous storm approaching. We've got the rhetorical question and the repetition of the word waar in line 12. Where will our help come from? Where's our closest neighbor? It shows you the helplessness of these people when they are on the ocean and they are alone and caught in a storm. We also have a reference here to Psalm 121, where the question is, when I look up to the mountains, where will my help come from? And the answer is from God. So the only person who can help them on this ocean in this situation is God himself. We've got Elise, it should be waar is, and bier being a shortened version of buurman, referencing a neighbor or a helping hand. Line 13, we've got dood in capital letters, which means we are personifying death. So it's personification. It has the capital letter. Dood is a person who's really close. And when you look at the alliteration of the D sounds, it's almost like he is knocking at the door. And he is so close. And it's emphasized again in line 13 with that accent. Ian, if he gives one more step, that's how close he is. So he's knocking at your door. And if he gives one more step, then he will be there with you. And he will bury you. He will kill you. When we look at kelder, it's an old way of speaking about ships being sunk. But here it means that he will kill you. He will bury you. He will sink the ship. He will sink the person. And then he will put you in his cold shed, which is a metaphor to show how lonely and isolated these people are. Also, obviously, if you fall into the water, it will definitely be cold and dark, just like a shed. Jy sê nog meneer, die vis is duur. Wat van die storms wat nooit pau raas? Jy sit pal in jou kliphuis, klam en gier, en hoor die wind al woester wreder blaas. En daar's geen sprokkel hout meer vir jou vuur. And you still say, sir, the fish is expensive. What about the storms that never stop raging? You are continuously stuck in your rock house that is damp and cold. You hear the wind blowing harder and more aggressive, and there is no more dry wood for your fire. We have a rhetorical question in line 16 where he asks, what about the storms that never stop? It's those long periods of times where you've got lots of storms raging. Remember that the fisherman needs to fish to bring home money. So if there is a storm and you are accidentally caught on it while you are on the ocean, that is one thing. But if there has been a storm for a while, then the fishermen cannot go out into the ocean. It is too dangerous. So that means they are stuck in their houses. So PAL means gedurig, continuously. They are stuck continuously within their houses. They cannot do anything. This jy here is the fishermen. And we've got alliteration here of the kliphuis and klam, emphasizing how uncomfortable these houses are. They are cold, they are damp. We've got gier, which means cold. The fishermen's houses next to the ocean, they are damp, they are cold houses. In line 18, we've got the alliteration of the W, which links the word wind in woester and vreder together. Again, also the W sound, emphasizing how strong the wind is blowing. Vreder is personification. Only humans can be wreed. It's a human emotion. It's almost like the ocean is, as we saw in the beginning, personified in being on purposely cruel, so as to keep the fishermen out from the ocean and keeping them stuck in their houses. And because they are stuck and they cannot fish, we've got another problem coming. In line 19, we've got daar, which is a lissie. It should be daar is. A sprokkel refers to dry pieces of wood. Now, because there's a storm, you don't have dry wood. And remember, it's very hard to make a fire if you only have wet wood. You need dry wood to make it. So everything is starting to become difficult for them. Houses are cold, they cannot make a fire because it's wet. Maybe their money is running out, they don't have food in their kitchens anymore, and they cannot go out to make more money because the only way they can is to go out into the ocean, and there is a storm raging for days on end. We also have the E assonance that emphasizes they cannot make food, they cannot make fire. The fishermen are powerless against the will of the ocean. Dan sê jy nog, meneer, die vis is duur. Was jy al ooit van jou bootjie soos 'n veer gevee, deur 'n grys golf hoog soos 'n tronkse muur? Wat help dit om te spartel en te skree? Nee, sluk jy eers daardie waters, sout en suur. Then you still say, sir, the fish is expensive. Have you ever been swept off your boat like a feather by a grey wave high as a prison wall? What does it help to kick and scream and say, no, when you start swallowing that water, salty and sour? So we've got a simile in line 21. Have you ever been swept off your boat like a feather? So we've got the V sounds here, emphasizing the swept motion, being swept off the boat. We've got the E sounds with fear. We've got the O sounds, bootjie, soos, and this entire thing emphasizes how easily the ocean can sweep a man off a boat. Against the might of the ocean, you are as light as a feather. There is enjambment from line 21 to 22 to show you how quickly that can happen. You are still standing on the boat one moment, next moment there is a wave as big as the wall of a prison. So it is huge, you cannot see over it. And this prison wall basically smashes against you and knocks you off of the boat. Again, there's alliteration here. Again, there is a simile, the wave being compared to a wall. Why a prison wall? Because there is no escape. Then we've got the alliteration of the G's to emphasize how strong this wave is, and the enjambment showing you how quick this wave can come. We have a rhetorical question, line 23. What does it help to kick and scream and to say, no, there is nothing you can do when that wave comes? There is no running, there is no hiding. When it comes, there is nothing you can do. So why fight against it? Especially when you start swallowing the water. Now, this line 24 shows you how imminent drowning is, how quickly drowning can happen here. When you have no time to brace yourself for this wave crashing against you, you will not have time to close them. Actually, in fact, I don't think you can close your mouth and nose to the force of that water. I think it will just come into any opening on your face, and I think that is showing you how powerful powerful the ocean is and how easily it is to drown. We've got that salt and sour taste. There's alliteration to emphasize the taste of the sea, and we have progression again. So we started with a calm ocean. It went from breeze to a roaring wind. Then we had the black night coming through, the darkness of the storm. And here we are going from having a storm to the possibility of drowning. Dan sê jy nog meneer, die visse stuur. Ken jy die doodsangs as die rukwind klap? Die waansin ken geen redmiddel of kuur. Hy vreet mos aan jou ingewande nes 'n krap. Hy's koud soos ys, heet soos hulle vuur. Then you still say, sir, the fish is expensive. Do you know the deathly fear when the squall hits? That madness knows no remedy or cure. He eats at your inside like a crab. He is cold as ice and hot as hellfire. In line 26, we've got a rhetorical question again. Do you know the deathly fear? Okay, so first, let's look at that sentence. That rhetorical question is possibly because this fisherman looks at the sir, who is the potential buyer, as a businessman who has never been on the ocean. So do you know how it feels, how that fear when that squall hits? A squall is a massive wave. It's a wind that brings storms of enormous magnitude. We've got the intensive form of doodsang, showing you that it is an extreme fear that they feel when that squall hits. And then he continues and he says, this rukwind, when it, as ons kyk na die woord klap, excuse, that is personification because only a person can slap another person, but it's talking about how this wind, the squall, brings about a wind that is so strong that it's actually slapping at you. It's slapping you around. You cannot hold your balance. You are thrown off balance when it hits. We've got the K sounds alliterated here, so again emphasizing the rhetorical question. Also maybe that slapping sound of the wave, of the wind hitting you through the face, bouncing you about. We've got the metaphor in line 27 with an accent, die waansin, so this insanity knows no cure. There is nothing you can do when that fear hits. The fear is completely overtaking you. There is nothing you can do to stop that fear when you're in that situation. Line 28 and 29, you have hy, personification here for the fear that the person is feeling. It becomes a person who eats at your insides. So when you think about fear taking you over from the inside outward, it engulfs you, it consumes you, this fear. Like a crab is a simile, a vergelijking. Crabs are bottom feeders of the ocean, and they actually eat on anything in the ocean. So they are talking about the scavenging nature of the crab eating your insides. Line 29, again, a simile. This fear is cold as ice and hot as hellfire. So that's when you are shaking and you are shivering, but you are also sweating of the fear. So that contrast coming out there, a paradox, it makes sense. You are so scared, but you are shaking and sweating at the same time. We've got an exclamation mark at the end of line 29 showing you how heavy the storm is and how difficult it is to explain this insanity that completely consume these fishermen. Dan sê jy nog, meneer, die visse stuur. Ken jy die see, meneer? Ken jy die see? Hy wat met groen jaloerse oë na ons gluur. Ons wat net een ou misstappie moet gee en hy kom tromp op ons afgestuur. Then you still say, mister, the fish is expensive. Do you know the sea, mister? Do you know the sea? He who glares at us with green jealous eyes. We who only need to make one little mistake and he will come bearing down at us. A rhetorical question, line 31, but this time linking with our title and with our line 1. In line 32, he that comes with his jealous green eyes. This he now is the ocean. Again, the ocean becomes a person. They say, do you know the sea, mister? Do you know the sea? He who comes with green jealous eyes. Okay, so now we've got green jealous eyes, and there's a connotative and a denotative, connotative and denotative betekenis, which is literal and figurative meaning. Okay, so let's look at our literal meaning. Our literal meaning, it refers to the green color of the ocean, and the figurative is the jealous eyes of the ocean, to be green with jealousy. We've got the G alliteration here that emphasizes the personification, how this ocean is jealous of something that the fishermen have. Maybe it's the fact that they are taking his fish, I don't know, but he glares at them with his green jealous eyes, wanting them to come to him. I don't know, maybe he wants to drown them. We've got line 33, een ou misstapie, that is an accent. It emphasizes how the simplest mistake, the smallest mistake can cause your death on the ocean. Now, also with the word misstapie is verkleining, it's diminutive. It shows you that a small mistake can cause your own death. And in line 34, there's quite a lot going on in line 34. Again, the hy being the personification of the ocean. Tromp op means to come suddenly and without warning, and that is the nature of the ocean. You do not expect what it's going to do next. It's unpredictable, and therefore even if you make one small mistake, you cannot anticipate how the ocean is going to react. And in this case, this wave is coming at them suddenly and quickly, and there's nothing they can do about it. And it is emphasized by our enjambment that we have from line 33 to 34, as well as our O assonance that you can see there, showing you that he is coming very quickly. Look at how close those O's are on top of each other. And then we've got the word afgestuur, which means to bear down on them. So it's a large wave bearing down on them, coming with a great speed and great force. Again, we've got the exclamation mark showing you the power of the ocean. Dan sê jy nog, meneer, die vissestuur. Sien jy die kromme vroukie daar, mevrou Matthee, wat telkens ver oor die golwe tuur? Sy dink die briesie bring haar seuns betyds vir tee. Hulle slaap al drie agter die kerkhofmuur. Then you still say, mister, the fish is expensive. Do you see the crooked old woman there, Mrs. Matthee, who every now and then stares far over the waves? She thinks this breeze will bring her sons home in time for tea. All three of them sleep behind the churchyard wall. Line 36, he is drawing this person into I want to say, literal explanation, or a literal version of everything that he has said prior to line 36. He has explained all the dangers of the ocean. Now he wants to prove it with something that he can show this fish buyer, potential fish buyer. So in line 36 he says, do you see that old lady there? So there's an actual woman standing there, Mrs. Matthee. We have assonance here of the O and vroukie. We've got the diminutive of the word vroukie. We've got the word krom, which means bent or crooked. So all of this, the krom, the O, the vroukie, explains to you how this woman is at that stage of her life where you are feeling sorry for her. There's sympathy for this lady. She is old, she is crooked, she's small and fragile. But telkens means often. Then we've got herhaling, which is repetition of the words ver and ver. It emphasizes how long and how far she is looking into the ocean, or over the ocean, over the waves. There's an accent, ver. It emphasizes how she is looking for her sons. She is staring at the ocean to find her sons. We've got the assonance also emphasizing the same line. Here we've got the word tier, met verlange soek. So she is looking longingly over the ocean, waiting for her son's return. We've got personification here in line 38 with the word breezy, because it says that this breeze will bring her sons back. And a breeze cannot bring the sons back. A breeze is simply a wind that's blowing. She's thinking that this breeze she is feeling over the ocean while she is staring at it will bring her sons back. Bring them back from where? We've got the alliteration emphasizing the personification and the sons, her awaiting her sons. But there's a euphemism in line 39 with the word slop, because they are not sleeping, they are dead. And not just one, but all three of them. And isn't that tragic? And they are sleeping behind the churchyard wall, which is a word for cemetery. Kerkhof is the word for cemetery. So all three of them dead already. This is the climax of the entire story. It shows you the risk the fishermen take when they go onto the ocean to fish. It can lead to death. And again, we've got this whole progression where we went from a calm sea to a stormy sea, from a stormy sea to a possible drowning situation to death here in this final story. Okay, so dan sê jy nog meneer, die vis is duur. And that sentence ends with an ellipse. Again, the same as with your title. That ellipse is there for you to think about everything that you have just heard, everything that you have just read, everything the fisherman told the prospective fish buyer. It is time to think about what he is actually saying. Do you know the sea, sir? Do you know the sea? And then you still say the fish is expensive. This man has taken offense to the fish buyer stating that the fish is expensive. He has spent this entire poem and repeating his questions at length. Line 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. He emphasized the message of the poem. And the message of the poem is, through your unknowing, your layman not knowing what is happening on the ocean, you assume that the fish is expensive, but you do not know what the people have to go through in order to bring the fish to your table. So it is not expensive unless you deem the fisherman inexpensive, unless you deem the fisherman's lives not worthy. So he is basically here emphasizing the dangers that they take every day, the risk they take, and how things can turn bad really quickly, and that the fish price is not that expensive when you take all of that into account. So again, we've got that ellipse. It tells us that you need to think about the price the fishermen pay. The price is sometimes their lives. It emphasizes the idea that they need to think about how difficult their circumstances are, how life-threatening their circumstances are. We've got progression, as I said in the previous slide, from a calm sea to a storm sea to an aggressive sea, and we have the drowning, the possible drowning, to finally a mother who had to say goodbye to 3 of her sons at once. Now, this happens very often, ladies and gents, in fishing, because it's a family business. You see, your father was a fisherman, you become a fisherman, and finally you don't want to work with strangers, you want to work with family. So an entire family will go onto a boat and work as fishermen on that boat. So if something happens to the boat, it's not 1, it's not 2, but can sometimes be up till 3 people in your family that you can lose at once. So the price they have to pay is quite expensive to bring that fish to your table. Thanks for watching again, guys, and remember, any questions, you can follow me on Instagram at Afrikaans Classroom. Please subscribe and like and share.